Welcome to the July writing update video. This is going to be a bit of a different one because long story short, I'm changing gears entirely for the rest of the year. So rather than doing my normal, here's what I'm learning, here's what I'm enjoying, here's what's next, I'm just going to lay it all out and tell you honestly what's going on and talk about what the rest of the year is going to look like, because July was a month of self-realization. Not very fun self-realization, but self-realization. So we're going to go ahead and unpack that and talk about what's to come next. So the main point, like I said, is that I'm drastically changing my goals for the remainder of the year. I got about 140 pages into the new draft when I realized I was just doing the same thing that I had done before for all the other drafts that I've tried to start of this, that it wasn't working. And that's discouraging after you've written, 30,000 words or whatever it was and 100 something pages, and you've written 12, 13 chapters, and you hit that same point where you go, it still isn't what it needs to be. And it's not from lack of trying. It's not from lack of planning. What it is honestly just lack of maturity as a writer. It has hit me so hard this month how not ready for this project I am. And I don't say that because I'm trying to be down on myself or because I'm trying to talk myself out of it or I don't believe in my own skill. I'm looking honestly at where I'm at as a writer and the growth that needs to happen, and I'm just not ready for this project. It's just too big for where I'm at right now. So yeah, let's unpack that a little bit. I did kind of divide my notes into sections. Here's what's happening is the first heading that I have here. To begin with, I had a meltdown about this project recently, more about writing in general, and I was talking to my husband about it and explaining my frustrations, and he very sincerely looked at me and he was nodding and listening, and he said, it sounds like you're trying to write Fellowship without knowing the Silmarillion. And that's exactly what's happening. So this fantasy story that I'm writing, there is this main historical event that I have a pretty detailed synopsis of. I know what the main events that go into this big historical event are. I know what happens. I know why it's happening. I know how it influences the story that's going on right now, or the one that I'm trying to write. But I don't know it intimately enough. I don't know those details intimately enough to know where the story is supposed to go, if that makes sense. I have to take a closer look, and a synopsis just isn't going to cut it. I thought when I was trying to set this up that I could work backwards. I could write the story that I thought needed to be told, and I could look at those pieces and say, okay, let me backlog the history from what happens here so that, it's already said and done. I can kind of fill in that space, and it's just not working. I wish it worked that way, but it's just not. Now, all these details that don't seem to be coming into play, there's just some meat to it that's missing, and there's so many just vague references I'm making to the history and these things that have happened in the past that are supposed to be informing the story, and it just doesn't make sense, and it's just not working. So that's what's happening. That's the realization I came to, is I got, again, 140 pages into it, realized it still wasn't working, and then was, very kindly told, it sounds like you're trying to write Fellowship before you write the Silmarillion, or before you know those details, and it's just not going to pan out the way that I want to if I continue the way that I'm going with it right now. I'm hesitant to take a step back because I said I would do this year. This is the project that I've been working on for forever. It's the story of my heart. It's the one that I want to tell. It is one of the most important things in my life, creatively, just as a person. It's so important to me that I tell the story, and it's why I don't want to set it aside, but I know. I've been denying it for a long time, and I'm finally coming to that realization that I just need to take a step back from it, and I don't want to do that, but it's the right move. Next subheading here is reasons why I'm hesitant. The first thing is that I'm not a quitter. I am not a quitter. I never have been. And putting this project aside in this capacity right now, even though I will be continuing to work on it in another capacity, and I'll talk about that in a second, even though that's the case, I feel like I'm quitting. I feel like I'm giving up, and that's really frustrating because I have never been one to quit projects. I am a finisher of projects. I always have been. If I say I'm going to do a thing, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it well. So setting out at the beginning of this year and saying, I'm going to do this, and having to continually scale back those goals, and then to arrive at this point more than halfway through the year and say, never mind, I can't. That's not what I'm supposed to be working on. I don't think I have the capacity to do this or at the maturity. It's discouraging, and it's disappointing and frustrating, and it feels like I'm giving up, or like I'm letting down I don't even know who, myself, future readers, the people who have been keeping me accountable and watching these. I don't know. I feel like I'm just being a letdown. And I hate that feeling. I don't want to be a disappointment. I don't want to be a person who says I'm going to do a thing and then doesn't do it. So that's the big the big reason why I hesitate to make this choice, but it is the right one. And I have to fight to accept this, because I have in the back of my head, not advice, or maybe it is advice or instruction from other writers who say, you know, the biggest step is just finishing the draft. Like 99% of writers don't make it because they won't finish the project they're working on. Just finish it and you're already like so much further than all these other writers who want to be published, that you're so much further than they are already just by finishing a draft. I know I'm a finisher of projects. I have finished drafts before. I have to get that piece of advice out of my head, because it's not that I'm quitting this. It's not that I'm like, oh, I'm not going to finish it. I am setting it aside for now because I have to, because I am just not ready for it. It really is like trying to write this big epic fantasy before I've written a single book. I don't have the skills to juggle all these things that I'm trying to. It's very difficult. I'm just not there yet, and that's okay. But having to accept that and, you know, get rid of that advice or that encouragement or that, you know, kick in the pants from other writers who have made it and who have done the thing, it's hard to do that, because I feel like I'm making myself the exception to the rule and I shouldn't be, or I don't know if that makes sense. But yeah, that's why I'm hesitant. It's disappointing, it's discouraging. I feel like I'm giving up, I feel like I'm quitting, I feel like I'm ignoring important advice. But really what I've been ignoring is the fact that I'm not ready for it, and I keep trying to force the project because I said I would do it, and what I'm doing is just wasting my own time by working on something that I need to take a rest from. However, this choice has given me so much unexpected relief, which, you know, I was surprised by. I thought finally coming to that conclusion, which I've been fighting against for months and I've kind of been wrestling with internally and not really speaking about and thinking it was just my own problem. When I finally said, I'm not ready, and I think I need to stop doing this for a little bit, at least this project, I thought it was going to break my heart. And instead what I felt was just this enormous emotional weight just fall off of me. This huge mental load just go away. And so I know it was the right choice, because that's what I felt. It wasn't this feeling of, oh, I'm in denial that I'm not ready, oh, I'm just talking myself out of it, or, you know, I'm disappointing myself or ignoring my own heart, ignoring my own goals for XYZ reasons. It was this huge relief that I felt of saying I need to just put it aside for now. So that was a big indicator for me personally that it was the right choice, because right choices that have been difficult for me in the past, I still feel relief when I make them, if that makes sense. It's difficult and it's heartbreaking and I don't want to do it, but when I've made the choice, I feel so much better having done it, and that's where I'm at with this one. Additionally, though, that's not the only reason. Something that I was told about, or that was discussed when I was in my master's program, was not putting all your eggs in one basket. So if you continually hammer away at one project and only work on one project forever and only send out one project to, you know, to agents and to editors and to publishers, if you only do that and you get nowhere with it, you're going to feel like a failure because you've put all your eggs in one basket. It's important to work on multiple projects at once. It's okay to put yourself out there into other spheres of writing. It's okay to try new things. It's okay to put out multiple different projects at once, or to be juggling all those different things. In fact, you should be, because that's how you grow as a writer. And what I have been doing for over a decade is putting all of my eggs into the basket that is this story, and not trying to do other things, even though I have a bunch of other ideas that are a lot more simple to tackle and a lot less intimidating, because this was the first one I had. This was the first one that really stuck in my brain as a teenager that made me say, I want to do this. This is the story I want to tell. So even though I have, 10 other ideas for novels, single novels, not series, just one novel that is, a lot more manageable than trying to plan an entire series, let alone an epic fantasy series, I keep pushing this project because it's the one that I've been in love with for so long. But it's not helping me grow. In fact, it's reached a point where it is holding me back from maturing as a writer like I need to, because I've been so stubborn about trying to get it done when I'm not ready for it. It's one of those things too where I'm burnt out on it. And I think that was a hard realization to come to also. But I realized one day as I was sitting down to write a new chapter, I was just so overwhelmed by it and intimidated by it. And I couldn't figure out why, because, I had the outline. I knew exactly what was supposed to happen. I had the whole plan. But when I sat down to actually work on it, I was like, I don't know what's supposed to happen here. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know how this is going to turn out. And I realized that I was no longer daydreaming about this project. In the past, when I've worked on it, it was so easy to sit down and write scenes because I had been, marinating in them for so long in my brain. I had been thinking about them. I had been considering what was going to be said. I can picture the scene in my head. So when I went to sit down and write, it was already there. It might still be difficult to get it on the page, but I had that inspiration. I had, that mental, that's such a weird phrase, but that mental marination where I was, steeping in the idea and in the scene for so long that I could put it on the page, where it reached a point where every time I sat down to write, I was like, I've never pictured this. And it's not just that it's new material or something, that I'm trying something new, it's that I'm no longer thinking about it when I'm doing other things. There are other stories I'm thinking about. Like, that's something I do consistently, is I'm always thinking of ideas and thinking of scenes for this book and thinking of this piece of dialogue and imagining how this will go down. I am always imagining and daydreaming about the stories I want to tell, and I've stopped imagining and daydreaming about this one. So I think, again, 10 plus years of working on it in various capacities, and since I was a teenager and like through maturity, creatively, I'm just burnt out on it. It's difficult for me to sit down with it. I know at a certain point with writing, you do just have to push through it, even through the burnout, but it's reached a point where it's no longer this, okay, I just have to push through. It's the, I have to give this a rest if I want to be able to return to it with any sense of love, because right now all I feel is frustration, and I'm just creatively burnt out on the project. As much as I love it, as much as I want to see it brought into the world and brought to life, I need to let it be for a bit. In addition to that point, I used to be able to just push through those things. Like I said, if I was starting to feel burnt out, I would be able to say, you know what, like, it's okay that you're tired, take a small break and then come back to it. I was able to just push through and get it done. But the more that I started to mature as a writer, and the more I've started to care about the quality of what I'm doing, the more I care about the time that I put into it, and the less I want to push through and just get something done so that it's done, because I know what's going to happen is I'm going to write another messy draft and have to start over again because I'm not there. I'm not ready. It needs more time to marinate and stew and to be creatively revived in the back of my head instead of at the forefront of everything that I'm doing. So that's another thing I've noticed, is that I don't feel that necessity to push through on this one. And I know that that choice allows for me to have better quality down the road, whereas before, I would just get it done and it would be messy and I'd be okay with going back and editing and fixing later, where this one, I feel like it's not the right choice to do that. And of course, the first drafts are there for a reason, but this first draft, I'm not ready for it. And that's another piece of advice, or another, kick in the pants from other writers that I'm hearing in my brain, is stop telling yourself you're not ready, just do it, that's a mistake. And I'm just not. It's one of those things where I can see down the road, when I've gotten further into my career, when I've learned how to handle a story, when I've learned how to craft a plot, because that's a big one that's hard for me, then this will be okay. And I can stop talking myself out of it, and I can push past those thoughts, where right now it is just an honest look at where I'm at and saying, this is too big for where I'm at right now. It is beyond the scope of my ability. It's beyond the scope of my skill at this moment. And it's not to say that it will always be. I fully believe that I will write this one day. It's just not today or anytime soon, because I need to have the space and time to grow in smaller projects that aren't so large and intimidating. At the beginning of this year, and something that I've talked to my husband about recently also, beginning of this year, I attended a seminar from Maggie Stiefvater about writing The Raven Cycle, which is one of my favorite series. And she's one of my favorite authors, has become one of my favorite authors over the years. And in the seminar, she said, I'm going to give you all permission right now to, that project you've been working on and daydreaming about, and that you've been working on since you were 15, me, she said, I give you permission to stop working on it. Set it aside. Don't start there. Work on something different. Do something new. And I heard that and went, of course, that's good advice, but it doesn't apply to me. I'm ready to write this. I can do it. I definitely, I'm a different case, and I ignored that advice, even though it absolutely struck a chord in me. I knew she was right, and I didn't want to hear it, and I just pushed that down, and I ignored it. And it's not that thought from the seminar is what, triggered this decision, or this decision that I've been holding off. It's that was already something I was feeling, even at the beginning, and I just didn't want to acknowledge it, and I kept ignoring it. So I did. And I kept pushing forward, and I kept saying, if I just do this thing, if I just do this thing, if I just do this piece, if I just work on that, I'll get there. And here I am, realizing, 7 months later, that she was right, and I should have taken that advice at the beginning. And something else I was thinking about recently, too, is that one of the best things I've worked on this year, one of my favorite things I've written this year, was a short story. And I don't write short stories. I don't like writing short stories. But this one that I wrote back in February, I had so much fun with. And it's the most quality thing I've managed to do this year. So looking at that, it makes me realize I need to be able to give myself the space to creatively grow and try other projects, and try my hand at other formats than what I've been doing for so long. Because I'm not going to grow if I don't try new things, right? And if I continue to put all my eggs in this basket, I'm just going to have a lot of rotten eggs that go nowhere. I need to be able to spread them out. I don't know if that analogy works, but it's how I feel. It's the word picture that works for my brain at this moment. 18 minutes, you are blabbering. Anyway, basically, I'm anxious for the space to be able to try other more manageable projects and to see how I grow through those rather than forcing this project that I know I need a break from. So moving forward, this is not to say, like I said, that I'm giving up entirely. I still believe I will write the series in that capacity that's supposed to be written in someday. In the meantime, though, I have some backstory work that I still need to do that I didn't think I had to, that I thought I was done with, but no, I'm not. So moving forward, I don't think I will write a single stitch of this story anymore this year, but I will be doing some planning. What I think I have to do, and something I didn't think I'd want to do, but now I'm a lot more excited and motivated to do this project than I am the actual series that I eventually want to write. I want to start planning for a novella that goes over that big historical event that's informing the series I'm trying to write so that I intimately know the story. I want to go back and write my Silmarillion, write my Hobbit before I write my Lord of the Rings, because that's what I'm trying to do, and that's why I keep failing because I don't have the information that I need. It's something I thought I could spitball. Like I said, I have a few page synopsis of the event and the main players and why it was important and why it's influencing what's happening now. Just a brief summary is not cutting it. So for the rest of the year, what I've decided to do is once a week, and the day I've picked is Wednesdays because I have a guaranteed couple of hours on Wednesdays at this moment, and I should for the rest of the year, is on Wednesdays for the rest of the year. Just for those couple hours, I'm going to start doing prep work for a novella that goes over the historical event. I don't think I need to write a full novel. I think I can do a smaller piece here, but I do need to actually write it out as a narrative rather than just doing a synopsis. I need to be able to intimately know those details so that I can take that information, take that story, and use it to actually inform the story that I'm trying to write, like I've been trying to do. And I've decided once a week is good because, again, I think I need to just give my brain a rest from this project. I need to be able to give my brain a break so that I can feel excited about this again. And already, considering the work that I'm probably going to do in this novella, I'm feeling more excited than I have in a while about the story because I feel like I'm actually uncovering something new. I'm excited to discover what's there. I'm excited for the challenge that the project's going to be, whereas the series itself, it has lost its spark for me, and in a way where I know I have to take a break from it. So once a week, I will be working on those key characters, learning more about them. I will be plotting, doing an outline. I'm going to continue my in-depth study on biblical prophecy. That's another thing is I thought, I can make up, these prophecies that are supposed to be informing this work. I'll work backwards from what's actually happening in the text, and then I'll make the prophecies off of that. That's not working. I really thought it would. I need something concrete to work from. I can't work backwards like I thought I would. So once a week, give my brain a break, just do all the prep work so that sometime next year I can work on that project. I don't know when, I don't know how, but as of this moment, that is the plan moving forward. In the meantime, besides that, because I will not only be doing writing once a week, like I said, this year that I have is meant to be dedicated to growing as a writer and working on these projects, so I'm still going to write a novel this year. I said I would do it, so I'm going to. That contemporary coming-of-age story that I mentioned however many videos ago that I was going to do for NaNoWriMo, I'm going to start the prep work for now. So right now I have set aside, I believe it's Tuesdays and Thursdays specifically, to start working on the prep work for that. And then also Mondays and Fridays if I have the time, but Mondays and Fridays I'm trying to reserve for video filming and video editing as needed. I won't have a video every single week, so on the weeks that I am off from video making, I'll be able to work on the novel then as well. But for weeks that I have the video making, I don't have to stress about trying to juggle all of the same thing at the same time, so I can enjoy making the videos, I can enjoy prepping for the novel. So I still plan to write that one for NaNoWriMo, and that is a lot more of a manageable project, and I'm grateful for the time and space that I have ahead of time before October, which is typically Preptober for people who do NaNoWriMo. I have a couple other months to kind of start preparing myself for that because I've never worked on this in any capacity before, and I'm gonna have to start from the beginning. And it's crazy to think that, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm very excited about it. So yes, moving forward, the goal will be to get a rough draft of that contemporary coming-of-age novel done, a thorough outline for the historical novella complete so that I can have that written sometime probably next year. Yeah, that's the goal moving forward. I don't know how it's going to pan out, but I've been saying all year that I need to slow down, right? And I've been taking small steps in that of slowing down in other ways, but this was the big one that I've been avoiding because I didn't want to do it. I felt like I was quitting, but this sense of peace that I feel about slowing down in this way, where I'm reducing my hours of work in the week and reducing the amount of commitments to the writing that I've made. Not that I'm giving up the writing entirely, but that I'm, not holding myself to the standard of you must behave like a full-time published author, because I'm not that yet, and realistically I just don't have the time to. It's not, life happens and it's very busy and very demanding, and even from the efforts from myself and from my family to carve out the time for this. The goals that I've set for myself are just unrealistic, and I keep disappointing myself by trying to reach so far above what I actually have the time for. So giving myself the space to creatively refresh myself, to work on a smaller project that I'm actually excited about, to have those dedicated days where I know I'm still getting work done, but I'm not, feeling this enormous amount of guilt and stress on the days that I don't get work done, because sometimes there are days where it just doesn't happen, even if I want it to. Even today, I thought I wasn't going to be able to film this video like I wanted to because the puppy woke up an hour early, and thankfully my husband is free and can take care of him, but originally that wasn't the case, and just life happens, things go on, and things get messed up schedule-wise. And so being able to give myself the permission to take that step back, to say, I'm still working on this, I still have dedicated time, but it's towards smaller goals, it's towards a smaller project that I am actually excited about. It's the step I needed to take, and I am excited about it. Also nervous because, again, I've never tackled the story in any capacity. I've thought about the story idea since high school, also another idea I've had since I was a teenager, and this is the one that, because I knew I was going to be doing it for NaNoWriMo, I've been thinking about these characters, I've been thinking about their story, and I'm so excited to uncover what's there and to be able to unfold all those little scenes that are in my brain and see how they piece together, and to discover who these characters are and what their importance is and what they have to say to the world. I'm excited. I'm excited to get started, and it's refreshing to feel creatively excited again, because I haven't really felt that since earlier this year when I did that short story. Like I said, I just feel more excited about the rest of the year now that the pressure is off. I feel like I'm actually going to enjoy what I'm doing rather than feeling like I have to force it and like I'm not meeting goals and like I'm disappointing whoever, you watching this, my family, myself, the other writers who have encouraged me to keep going. It's a big part of this was feeling like I was going to be a disappointment and like I was failing. And so being able to let go of that and say it's not a failure because you're still doing something and you're still working towards it, even if you take a step back, incredibly freeing. And I can't wait to see what comes next because of it. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. I can't tell you really how much all of you watching these, your encouragement and your engagement has meant so much. I feel so bolstered from your interactions and your support, and knowing that people out there watching this can relate or feel encouraged by what I'm doing, or, it helps to know that I'm not alone in this journey and that other people understand what's going on and can speak to where I'm at as well. So thank you so much for being here, even as I consistently change goals and have these grand self-realizations about where I'm actually at as a writer creatively. I appreciate you being here and being flexible and holding me accountable even as my goals change. It's been very useful and great to have you here. Moving on from the, creative epiphanies that I've been having. Next up, I will be reviewing the Lost Tomb series by Tamsin Muir. I'm so excited about that. Those are probably my favorite thing I've read this year. I'm not gonna lie. So sometime in the next few weeks that will be coming out. I'm very excited for that. I also have another readathon coming up this month, so keep an eye out for that. As always, you can also find me on Instagram and Goodreads. Those links are below, and if you feel so inclined, you can also subscribe below. Once again, I'm, beating a dead horse here, but I so appreciate you being here. I so appreciate your encouragement and the conversations you've had with me, and just you being on this journey with me. It helps knowing that there are people out there who understand that I am not alone and who are in it with me, even those who aren't other writers, who are just here to listen to how it's been going. All of your engagement and your support is meaningful and wonderful to me, so thank you. I appreciate you all. In the meantime, happy reading, happy writing, we hope, and I will chat with you all soon.